Hey, one for the offensive lineman. Where's my offensive lineman out there? There we go. I mean, there's a lot of studs, incredible talents in this group that I'm going in with, and as a lineman, this is a fantastic honor just to be remembered. Thank you to the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. I mean, it's, again, as an offensive lineman, you tend to go through your whole career. You never get any trophies, you rarely get any notice, and generally they don't even call your name unless you screw up. So you're doing everything you can, and then after your career, if you're really lucky, at the end of your career, they remember you. So I appreciate it very much. Also, I'd like to thank HEB schools. I was a product of all the way up through the HEB schools, same coaches everywhere. The middle schoolers couldn't wait to go to high school to be the high school star on Friday night. And it was a wonderful experience growing up in the middle of the DFW Metroplex. But I grew up in a little Texas school, a little tiny Texas school. And the one year we were good, we went 10-0, went to the playoffs, and the whole town got on buses and followed us. It was just like that. I know a lot of you guys do that every year. Now Trinity does it all the time, but they didn't do it back then. So I got 1 year of that when the whole town follows one little tiny school. And what happens on Friday night decides the rest of the week. A wonderful way to do it. I'd also like to thank my parents, Glenn and Charlene Baab. They're no longer with us. Mom made 1 million meals and drove me to 1 million practices. And somehow my dad, who worked 1 million hours, somehow found a way to make it to all of my football games. Almost all of them that we did. When I was fortunate enough to play in the pros, their Christmas present every single year was to be flown up for the Pittsburgh game. And that was my parents. They enjoyed it. I mean, at one time we had a boy that played on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, go watch me play Texas, watch the Cowboys on Sunday. That's the way I grew up. So we liked our football. It was good. So thank you to my parents. They really went the extra mile. It's amazing what parents will do. Now, as an offensive lineman, a lot of things go into it, but the most important thing is your coaches. It's all about technique. Where's my offensive line coaches? You understand, guys, things got to be done just right. And as I tell young players that I help now, you don't have to be that good. You just got to be that good at your technique. And so, of course, it's the coaches that do that for you. And I'd like to thank some of the men that did that for me. The first one was Coach Bear Bingham at Central Junior High in Texas. He told me to get my head on the right side or die. So I learned very early, get your head on the right side, as Coach would say. My high school coach was Ray Verkerk. Ray was a Russian immigrant who had jumped off the boat in New York and swam to America. We were terrified of the guy. And what he did to me, my senior year, or going into my senior year, I was preseason All-State, All-American, all that stuff. And he took that as a personal insult. And I had to stay out after every single practice. Because generally, if senioritis happens occasionally and things like that, and you think you're good, that happens a lot. And you kind of back off a little bit. Well, he made me stay after every practice, my entire senior year for 30 minutes, just so he could make sure that he thought I was good enough to be an All-American. Ray Verkerk. In college, it was Leon Manley. Coach Manley had played for Green Bay in the 30s. So when you got another coach you're totally terrified of. And Coach Manley taught me to play mean. Okay? Because everybody talks about offensive linemen and we're the big fat guys that get in everybody's way. No, we're the big mean fat guys that get in everybody's way. I learned that from Coach Manley. In college, it was Howard Mudd. Howard Mudd was Peyton Manning's offensive line coach for about 10, 11 years, and I think he's the longest duration assistant coach in the history of the NFL, 47 years or something ridiculous like that. And Howard was the one that took a player that, when I came out of Texas, because Coach Manley, let's be mean, I mean, if you stood in front of me, I was going to knock you down, but if you dodged, I was going to fall down. So pass protection was the problem, and Howard was the one that fixed it for me. And I know a lot of the offensive line coaches will shudder to hear this, but he taught me to jump at everything. Just jump at it, because that's what I was good at, not what everybody else did. So Howard saved my career. That and making me jump rope 1,000 times a day, every single day for 9 years. That'll do it. Thank you, Howard Mudd. Howard's still out there coaching somewhere. And also my greatest and best coach, my lovely wife, Lolise. Lolise has watched me play literally hundreds of football games, went to hundreds and hundreds of practices. And by the time I was finished with my 11-year NFL career, I would walk off after the game, and she'd go, okay, 3 blocks. In the third quarter on the slide draw, you did not close your man. He got back in there. And in the fourth quarter, what happened on the 32? So thank you, Lilise, my best coach and my greatest fan. Thank you very much. A couple of pivotal moments that happened in my career. because I was really one of those little clumsy kids that couldn't even run across the street without kicking the curb and knocking the end of your toe off. I mean, that was me. And I never thought, in seventh grade, for instance, I got cut off every single team, including the football team. The only reason I played is some kid named David Ebert broke his ankle. And to this day, when I see David, he says, it could have been me. They called my parents and said, Mrs. Baab, I know we cut your boy and took his uniform. Can he come back and just snap the ball and get in the way? And that's about what I did for the first year. Coach Derryberry, and then I had the fortune of being very, very angry and tired of being bad at something, being such a bad football player. It drove me crazy to be so bad at something that I gained a little bit of obsession and learned something that's going to help me for the rest of my life as far as overcoming things. And also I grew 6 inches. You know, things like that help. So that summer, I worked essentially did that work that all football players and all football coaches look back on their history. When they talk about football, they talk about that summer of 1976 when I ran up and down the hill at the base of my house, dragging a 40-pound truck tire 50 times a day, if that's what it took. That kind of thing. It was that summer, and that was the difference. And then I came in the next year, and a coach named Derryberry walked up to my mother and goes, Mrs. Baab, do you know your son might be good? He might be good. He's long. He's got all the right things. He might be good. And that was the first time my little brain went, hey, I could be good. How about that? The year before, I got cut. So I might not have played at all. Then when I was in high school, after my sophomore year, I started as a sophomore. Jimmy Baab, who played at TCU, Jimmy came up to me and goes, Mike, dude, do you know you're going to be like All-State, All-American, and get a scholarship and get out of Euless and go on and make all these things happen in your life? And I said, I am. And he said, yeah, you're that guy. You can do it. Be the crazy person who does the insane work. Let's run up and down the hill with a truck tire over and over again if that's what it takes to do. Thank you, Jimmy Baab. I mean, he was the one that made me sort of think, hey, let's do this thing, make it work. It's a tremendous honor for an offensive lineman, again, to be honored, especially in this group of these guys. These are some spectacular athletes. I would have loved to block for that Longhorn over there and that Longhorn over there. I would have liked to block for those guys. That would have been fun. I would have liked to block for that kid from TCU, too. He was pretty good, too. I mean, think about it. These guys are really good. It's a tremendous honor to be included in this group. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.